to get us into a mindset, let's start with empathy. Your opinion of it, Christo?
Empathy. Well, that's just going to make me turn to the board. Because I drew a big picture there.
Nah, save it. Save the board.
I'm saving the board. Well, empathy is like, to me anyway, that's a big question. It's pretty much the pure connection of minds in its purest form. So rather than going through logic, which is what language is, empathy is through emotion, which is more archaic or more integral.
So I've been learning about empathy a fair fucking bit. I really fucking like empathy, first of all. And what
empathy's
I think is
pretty good, dude.
What I think is cool about empathy is it's essentially allowing yourself to be so receptive to the universe that you're able to feel someone else's emotions. And what's interesting about this is that people buy people, which is really fucking cool, because it's essentially, it doesn't matter what you own or what you have in your possession that you're trying to sell, like product or service. People are always going to buy, they're always going to buy the person behind the product. Like, I've talked about this book so much, but Persuasion also speaks about this, and it's like, just by wearing the right things, you can also essentially hold this conversation, or like start a conversation based on what you look like, because people are always analyzing the environment, and to be completely empathetic would be to completely let go of yourself. So it ties really perfectly into spirituality. And what's cool about how the link between spirituality and empathy is that it's just so hidden. Like it's so obviously there, but once you dive into it, you can watch the same video once, or you can watch the same video like 10 times. And each time you watch it, you're always going to take away more empathy, how to be more empathetic, because we naturally forget parts of sentences and, just to remember the greater meaning.
Yeah. Mostly just spirituality in the East, though, because Western spirituality is mostly just like almost monarchical, Monarchical.
Define
like,
monarchy.
Like, there's a king at the top, like God, the ruler.
Yeah.
Monarch, like a monarch. Yeah.
No, that's a
like,
monarch is the female version of that.
No, it's just a kingdom. It's
okay. So
like
it's not
monarchy.
like it's mono. Is that what it stems from?
I don't.
I'm pretty sure monarch is like a female thing.
No.
I swear it is. I'm gonna ask the internet brain.
You can. That you're thinking matriarch.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you said before, you reminded me of empathy with what you said, and you said this to me a while ago. I don't know what book it's from, but The State of Transference.
Oh, Psychology of the Transference, yeah.
Transference, like this, like the... I forgot what the definition is exactly, but it's like when two minds are open to each other in a transference state, where they open-mindedly like accept each other's ideas and work productively, I guess, which is what the ultimate like philosophical discussion would be.
Well, that is, in essence, two subconscious minds speaking to each other. That's the goal of empathy, to speak to someone without any of your ego. So it's speaking directly to their subconscious mind and your subconscious mind.
Speaking directly to the soul. And
anything sent to the subconscious mind is instantly accepted and trusted, because that's what our conscious mind is for, to give label to, words we understand.
Makes sense, yes.
Which is interesting. And you know what? Another cool thing about empathy is just looking someone directly in the pupil, it instantly builds trust with someone, because it's one of those things where we always look away from people we don't trust. You're like, the stereotype is the sketchy dude with the cloak with all the
Yeah.
watches, and he's like, "Do you want to buy some watches?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I can't look at anyone, man. They can't know me." But
Well, that's like what Jordan Peterson says, like the whites of our eyes are for. It's so like we can understand like what each other is like we're up to, you know? You can see like if someone's like being sketchy by like looking
Oh yeah,
around,
I forgot about that. That makes sense. Cause like, it's reminding me of when I was a kid. I was being such a little dick to my dog. I was just annoying the shit out of my dog. 'Cause we had this like inflated tire tube thing, and like I don't know if it was a game to the dog, but to me it was. I was trapping it in the thing. Like every time it tried to jump out, I'd like bump it back into the middle. So, and eventually I swear this dog tried to use like some subconscious tactics on me, and I eventually caught on to what it was doing. Like before it'd jump, or it'd sit really still and then suddenly try and leap out in whatever direction. And at first, you know, it was random, but then I noticed right before the dog jumps, he'd look either to the left or the right. So he'd look to the left, so then he'd jump to the right. So he jumps the opposite direction that he's looking to maybe like try and bamboozle me or whatever. But you know, I bamboozled him back because I realized what he was doing, and it's like, so the whites are pointing to where he's gonna go, and the blacks are pointing to where he's not gonna go. So I just kept stopping the dog like a little piece of shit.
yeah. So essentially, what you said, your pupils are your true direction, I suppose.
Yeah, you made me
Yeah,
think
in a
as well.
sense.
Like, without the whites of the eyes, it's like a clear contrast as well. You can clearly see where the middle of the eye is, surrounded by the
Yeah.
white.
Things
It's like a very-
don't exist without opposites.
This is
Yeah, man.
interesting because, like,
Yeah, dude.
There'd be no you without these
something
opposites.
something regarded as completely awkward, well, is what I've just collectively heard, I suppose, is getting on public transport. And what's interesting about getting on public transport is that you can't look around freely. You're kind of like
Yeah.
blocked by people's vision.
Yeah.
You kind of, you know, you don't have anything to talk about. It's just like, it's just a strange situation in general. And to make small talk that quickly, you kind of just have to be someone who does it naturally.
Yeah.
A lot of people have like moved on from like school and high school, and they just don't speak to anyone. They don't have any connections. They've, you know, gotten into relationships where they only talk to one person really, or their friends, their group of friends is just so tight knit. But
Yeah.
it's like, fuck, how does shit, you know, get that awkward? Because when you were little, like, you always stare at babies on buses. This is fact.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh
like,
yeah, because you're like,
there is no ego, there is no
yeah,
judgment from a
it's
baby.
like it's easy
Yeah.
to stare at this thing. It's no judgment coming back at me. Yeah, it's making me think of like, I don't know, like the intensity of focus of someone's focus. It's like a beam of light, metaphorically. It's just like everyone knows that staring into someone's eyes, a stranger especially, it's just really intense. Like you're staring directly into infinity, pretty much.
Is it infinity or is
Yeah,
it
because
like,
I see the mind as infinity because we can do whatever the hell we want. I mean, for a later example would be some of the shit we've drawn on the board. The conscious mind is like an open space, or just a source of light, however you want to see it. It's just, I forgot what we were talking about, but we're infinity, man.
Well, that's interesting to me because when you speak with really confident people, they naturally aren't afraid to look away. They address problems so directly and head on that, like, you know, it's only awkward if you make it awkward.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're being empathetic with someone, you need to, like, push out that thought. Paradox, of course, because you're trying to push something out that you're trying not to think of. So you have to completely remove it. And the only way to completely remove an emotion that you don't like is to replace it with something else. So, with that being said, it's like you never truly get rid of these emotions, essentially. We're all on a different level of difficulty in life, but it's all the same. Someone who is brand new to, I don't know, a job or something, they're in a workplace that they're unfamiliar with. It's as difficult to them as it is for the senior marketing executive in a corporation. They already have knowledge, but the next challenge is always as difficult. But we just our transferability of our skills is so diverse that someone in an executive role finds it just as difficult as someone who just started the job.
Yeah. You're reminding me of like how MMOs and stuff work with like scaling enemy difficulty. And that's pretty much what the universe is doing to everyone. Yeah. It's like the smarter you get, the more you have to deal with your own intelligence, I guess.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I think that then becomes the way your mind, the cap on your mind. So like, you're limited by two things: what you think you can do, and the actual limitation is where the brain stops. Obviously, there is no limitation to that because we haven't even like scraped the closest fucking portion of it away, you know?
It's the most complex thing we've seen in the universe.
Yeah,
Wait, what are we talking? Oh, the brain.
The brain.
Yeah, it's pretty. I was gonna say it's pretty crazy, but it's also pretty, I guess.
So with empathy, though, where do you sit with it, Jesse? What
It's
do you,
good.
How do you use
It's
empathy?
good.
It's good.
Like, I don't know if you actively think about this. Maybe I do it, but I don't know if you do it. But how do you actively empathize with people around you? So what do you like to do?
I just go with the flow. I don't know.
Well, let me rephrase that. In what do you naturally do to empathize with people then?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, like,
What do you think it is? Try and like define it, I guess.
Well,
To empathize.
to empathize through someone's empathy. I think that's what I'm asking. Like, you know, yeah, keep going.
well, I don't know. You connect just like everyone else, you know? You do the same shit you always do.
Like you're
You
always
figure out where they're
Alright.
from, like
If people don't know how to empathy,
it's always the same sort of shit,
Yeah.
and then it ramps up, you know? Like you figure out common ground and then go from that.
yeah, that's a good one.
It's always just sort of the same thing whenever you meet someone new.
It's like
Yeah.
you figure out the ground they're on,
I think
and then you
it's-
put yourself in their shoes in that ground.
Yeah, well, you have to find like common ground, you know? Like
Yeah.
you find people that like the same games as you, or I don't know,
find-
anything. Read the same books. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I find better empathy is achieved when you first reveal something about yourself. So it's consciously, you always want to aim for plain English, I suppose, but you always want to use plain English, but then drop obvious hints. Like if you watch a movie and then there's a close-up of a guy like going into his pocket or something, but it's, you know, meant to be like surreptitious, it becomes obvious. So like, I find the easiest way to empathize with people is to first say, you know, like, just randomly speak about yourself to instigate a question in their mind. So then you can ask a question that then they want to see the obvious answer you've given them, but it allows them to also be obvious about what they like. It kind of makes you it makes you a basic bitch, in all honesty, because your actions become so obvious when you're making new friends and when you're empathizing with new people. So, you know, it's like fucking cool.
I don't know. It's not something I like actively think about, you know?
Well, yeah, you can't actively think about empathy and also do it,
Yeah.
because then you're not giving 100% your empathy. So
Yeah.
you know,
It's like trying to not think of it. No, it's trying to like bite your own teeth, you know?
you can't.
Everyone should not be self-conscious right now. You know?
Well, I'm
It's
just
like
trying to
one of those-
comprehend that first.
Well, you become self-conscious because
Oh wait, yeah.
don't be self-conscious, dude.
Stop looking at me.
I think with empathy though, being self-conscious is like it's destructive in two forms, because people recognize when you are uncomfortable in a situation.
Yeah.
I find a lot of the time, because of my openness, people are just receptive to whatever I say. Like, because if you came up to me and said, Nathan, I literally seen fucking purple clouds shat out of a fucking rabbit, and if you could back it up with science, I would fucking believe it. Like
Everything is possible, man.
I'm always open.
It's just open-mindedness.
Yeah, I'm always open to ideas because, like, we live in such a hectic universe. We live in such a chaotic universe that it is very possible. Not on our planet, potentially, but it is always possible. So
Yeah,
it's
well, like, I
just
mean-
give me science, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A shitload's possible. Like, we're just some tubes that are just talking to each other right now. We're
Yeah.
just tubes that eat food that have grown other bits, you know? Like, that's
Alan
literally
Watts
it.
quote there, right?
Yeah.
Tubes. We're just a
He
tube
says
from
we're
mouth
just
to anus.
stomachs that have evolved. Because that's all it is to begin with, just this eating thing on the ground.
Elaborated.
That eventually gets...
Elaborated stomachs.
Yeah. That eventually grows a head and a brain so it can seek out more food just to push it through the tube more. It's just this process. We're just tube seeking out food.
That's the purpose. Which camera's mine? That's the purpose of your fucking existence. To push things through your tube.
That's all you are. A tube pushing stuff through your body.
So this is what I'm saying. Let's get into some of the deeper parts. Let's get into some of the deeper states of empathy. I think we should do a little reveal of this spirit self.
Where do I start? So, thanks, man. It's clearly male.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't have to be, but like. Anyway, so ultimately these two sides, I've drawn them in different colors. Ultimately they're the same thing because everything is the same thing. It's made of the same stuff on every level. But for explanation purposes, I've drawn it dualistically. And this is all based on my understanding of what Kundalini yoga is, or Kundalini, or whatever else, or Chi and Pranayama and all that sort of good shit. Chi and Pranayama, if you're not aware, are I don't have the good knowledge on all of it, but Pranayama is the Hindu version of Chi, and all it is just the infinite energy of the universe. You can feel it in yourself. If you push your hands together, that resistance energy that you feel like arcing through your body, that's Chi, and your center of balance is Chi. You are that center. You are that Chi. Like, it's you. And
So those little squiggles there are pretty much...
that's your feeling. And it's the energy. It's gravity going up your bones. Your bones have perfectly formed around these structures of energy. This is what I've essentially derived from fixing my spine after years of neglect.
Except most people feel it in their tailbone, usually, apparently.
Yeah.
And that's like the Kundalini snake. It
Yeah,
coils
this is where all the Kundalini snake and chakra stuff come in. What I think is that the pelvis looks the way it does. Well, let me start with this, is like the intersections of our legs with the body and our arms with the body. Like, pretty much we've got two intersections up here and these two. They're pretty much where the energy is coming in the hardest. It makes sense, because if you're on all fours, you've got gravity going up your arms and your legs and colliding in the middle where your core is.
So this is a center of balances, pretty much, where
Well,
both sides of your body can equally stand.
well, yeah, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying here is with the shape of the pelvis, the shape of your bones and everything, they are shaped that way to perfectly redirect and essentially store that gravity, that resistance energy, the chi, the spirit. It's all the stuff on that side. It's storing it like in your pelvis and your chest or whatever. And what am I trying to say here?
It's interesting because the way I see the top one working is your arms are always pulling down, so the balance wouldn't be in your chest, it would be in your head because it is pulled through your traps.
Well, the balance is spread out through your whole body.
Yeah,
It's
well-
just focused where your spine is. That's with like the equinox. Is that the word? It's like the beam in the middle.
Equilibrium.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the beam. The beam of where all the energy is going up. But anyway, so with the Kundalini stuff, there's this myth or experience that people experience where when they're doing meditation, specifically the sort where you center yourself, whatever that means to you, where you center of balance, or at the same time you try and center your mind, there's this experience people have where they have a physical sensation of, and sometimes this is represented mentally as well, as like a visualized snake or something snake-like, where they have the sensation followed with a visualization of a snake going up their spine out of the top of their head, or stuff like that along those lines. And what I think that is when your spine is not in line, you've pretty much got blocked pathways of energy. So the gravity that's coming, if you're standing on your feet, resistance energy from the ground is going up your legs, converging at your pelvis, and being sent up your spine. But if you're out of position and you've got tensions all over, it's not lined up properly, and so your pathways are closed. And this instantly like brings to light what all the hippies are on about with opening your channels and like energy pathways and all that sort of stuff. So that energy travels up your spine, and you can feel it, like, because essentially our bodies have grown away from the ground. So the purpose of our body, the purpose of our tube, so we're just the tube trying to push things through ourselves from mouth to anus. In order to do that, we need to move around, so we need to fight against gravity to push off the earth and walk around. So we formed to do that. And because it's from the ground up, we're essentially like trees, rooted ground up. The energy travels up your spine when you open the pathway. So if you're doing yoga or meditation and you figure out ways past your tension that you're holding in your head, then all of a sudden those pathways open up, and your body then automatically aligns it. It's like there's a rush of energy just unblocking everything. I've experienced this myself, like during some pretty intense meditation sessions on mushrooms. And it was amazing. It showed me so much. I pretty much found my body. Like, it's as if since I was a kid, I just got so lost in the mind that there was just this fucking severed connection of the body and mind.
So like a tree that's naturally being pushed over by the wind. It would always be more resistant on one side, right?
Yeah.
And if it were to stand up straight, then it would be...
Exactly. Then it's lined up, its pathways are open, and the energy is perfectly going up and spreading through it. And it feels effortless when all these pathways are open. Like your true self, it's no pain. Like, you just feel like you're in your body. And obviously, as like life pressures, you build tensions and stuff. So the whole purpose of like meditation and yoga is to just undo those tensions. And a lot of people just don't even go there at all. They have no concept of this sort of stuff. And like, you can see why, because like the Western mind it doesn't give a shit about this. It gives a shit about hard facts, science, man, stuff like that. And so it just turns a blind eye to all of this like necessary information that completely changes people's life. And like, yeah, so the Kundalini snake is pretty much, a lot of people experience it on psychedelics, and I feel like it's because the visuals follow the sensation that's going up their body. And this is the chakras and stuff as well, like your chakras open up, and so much hippie stuff I can go on about. You are the infinite energy of the universe that is coming from the ground. You're the same thing. That's what the self is. And people that associate themselves with matter and materialistic sort of thinking, turning a blind eye to that side, which is like spiritual people are interested in this, materialistic people are interested in this.
Yeah, well, it's also represented in our language. Like,
Yeah.
I came into this world, you know?
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
come into it. You came out of it.
But yeah,
Where'd you
can
come
see
from?
you can see the angle the language is coming from, though, because like you could say you come
It's
into the world.
materialistic angle, though, you know? Like,
No, just hear me out for a sec. Like, coming into this world is from the perspective of being the spirit and essentially coming into like a veil of matter.
Into a vessel, yeah.
yeah, well, that's one way to see it, but like
Yeah.
the other way is like, you know, I came into this world like from somewhere else.
Man, I feel like I've covered a lot of it. So it's just dualistic. Like, people that are interested in spirituality have a fixation on the energy. That most of that stuff is unseen. It's not materialistic. Your eyes don't see it. So it's all like behind us, like subconscious, like mental inside.
You
And
feel it, you don't...
yeah, exactly. And I think memories are tied to the physical place that we're in, because like I don't have memories from before I was born, so that's why I think that. And I think ego is all... Your ego is the you that you are in this reality. It's like your vessel, your body. That's your ego, your character that you're playing in this big game. It's an actual game. Like actually, have fun. Seriously.
Well, I think if you're not having any fun at life, like if you're not doing something that isn't enjoyable to you, well, one, you're not in the right place in your world. Obviously, you're not doing what you should be doing. Because, like, if you ever set an image for yourself, you build an image of it in your mind that you want to play in as this vessel you're given in this life isn't limited to anything. So it's not limited to how high and far you can dream. It's limited to the capacity of your body, yin on this graph. It's limited to the matter in that thinking. But being able to be open to the unseen, so the spirit, the energy, the infinity, and just pranayama. I think of it as like the amount of effort it takes, and the natural ceiling matter has. It's like the devil's in the details. A quote: "The devil's in the details" is by doing the smaller little details every day, it builds the bigger image because you're training more than what your routine is. Because if we're ever left to a routine, we're always going to be self-destructive. You need to constantly add to it. By constantly adding to it, you always need to take something out. So it's always capable, and it always...
Yeah, but it depends on like the game you want to play, I think, Like Kant, Immanuel Kant, used to had the same routine every day, and he's still considered like one of the best philosophers ever. He went on the same routine walk every morning. He never traveled 20 kilometers outside of his hometown.
I guess it comes down to thinking outside your routine. So like you can lock your body, like send your matter piece in the routine to keep it like stable, I guess, and then your mental part is like infinity, so it can go outside wherever the fuck it wants while it's safe in the routine.
Yeah. Some people, it help like being like... Repetition helps you think on things, That's why you like repeat things in like meditation, like mantras and the beads and like breathing, like it's repetition.
I don't want to make it come off like I don't agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I say it from someone who sees pain and sadness in their life. So someone who isn't happy with their life, they're in a routine that causes unhappiness. Yeah. So I'm saying Kant and everyone like that, they were in their routine. They knew what they wanted, so they could always do it.
Yeah, there are good routines and bad routines. Yeah, for
get
sure.
into the flow of their routine and essentially turn off their memory, so all they could do was focus on creating new memories. Because like I have this big hiccup in my mind right now. Maybe you guys can explain it to me, but I have like an internal conviction, which is I think memories are something I need to keep. But in reality, we don't really need memories if we're constantly building ourselves
You can't
up.
keep anything.
Well,
you selfish piece of shit. You can't keep anything.
Everything is dust and it's going back to dust. You can't keep anything.
Well,
try to keep something. The eternal universe that's expanding apart will tear you apart if you hold on to it. You can't hold on to anything. It's all going to die and turn to dust. Even your memories.
Speaking of, for the life you choose to play, then I'm guessing, like
that's what I mean. It depends on the game you want to play here.
Yeah, like I guess to be completely enlightened, you need to let go of it all, memories, goals, everything, and be able to live in that, I guess, routine.
Well, that's what Nirvana is. Nirvana directly means blowout. Yeah, but it also, a sigh of relief. Nirvana. Letting go.
So yeah, like becoming enlightened is letting go of all fears. Fear. Dementia.
I think it's accepting all fears, to be honest. Not letting go. Because to let go is to like, you need them.
Live with that.
Fear is like, there has to be an opposite to everything. Like most people do courageous things when they're shitting themselves. Like you need fear sometimes. Like people just associate fear with bad, but there's like opposites to things.
Jordan Peterson in Joe Rogan podcast He used acrobatics. I forgot what they are, but like the people that like balance on those sticks, on those pole things, and do acrobatics on it.
Yeah.
He said if you see one doing this amazing stuff and they get like an awesome score, like how are you going to top that? So the next person to top it puts themselves as like closer to chaos, like closer
Yeah.
to failure than ever, and it's like I forgot what you said, but it's like getting close to the edge,
Yeah, getting
which
close
is
to
pushing it
chaos,
further.
yeah. You need the chaos to get the order. One can't exist without the other.
This is really good information to me because the harder you go out at life, then just the more essentially you get more out of life. Like,
Yeah.
if you continually just punch through with your giving and just completely giving, to the point where people can't give you back as much as you're giving out, there's going to be like this like loading time, I guess, of kindness that you just start randomly receiving from other people.
Yeah.
So like my philosophy at the
Yeah, well,
moment,
that's basically karma in a sense, you know?
yeah. So my philosophy at the moment is how far can I give to someone before I go completely broke or whatever?
Yeah.
Or before I spend too much, then before I receive that kindness, because you're not going to get it back straight away, obviously, but as the energies of the universe kind of like accumulate and amass around you as to the consistency of what you give, then I just see no other way than success out of that, because if it's true, you can't destroy and you can't build anything. It's always just transmuted, I suppose.
Yeah.
You're never gonna go through what's the word?
Nirvana.
Well, I don't know. Well, then would Nirvana be living in that state of you've already given more, so you can just sit there and be receptive because you know.
Well,
you're
yeah, it's
gonna
like the
get
other side of after doing it. Nirvana is like the relief of.
Well, not
Finishing
technically. It depends, like...
What's this?
It
the side
depends
of
how
relief?
you define it to yourself, Nirvana.
Yeah.
Like, what to you is letting go? Like, how do you detach yourself from the things that are just... Everything's dying around you. Like, how do you detach yourself from that personally? You know, that's Nirvana. Like... But, in a sense,
But
it's
not that you should
attachment.
detach.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Also
saying.
what you
Like,
said
in a
before,
sense,
like-
it's attachment.
Going hard at life. Like there's a contradict in that, where you have to go hard at life, but you have to do it softly and effortlessly to make it actually go really hard.
Well, then is that your habits?
I guess I'm just talking about the way now.
Yeah, well, that's like Zen,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Zen mode. 'Cause I imagine like intensely, like it's really like muscly, veiny dude, but like I'm just trying to imagine like a really relaxed, tense person, essentially.
But he's like,
I'm so relaxed, man.
oh man.
That is just ego in itself, just spewing everywhere.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, tensing
I guess that would
tensing
be like,
into ego, relaxing into yourself.
I have no idea what you said.
I said,
but
continue.
when you say big bodybuilders, they're like always tensing and shit because they want to show off their muscles. They first thought their way into that because they would have been like, if you're a genuine bodybuilder, you have a different love for yourself than an ego bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Most of the time, these guys are bigger as well. The ones who do it for different reasons. Cause
Yeah, because the ones that are doing it just to show off, it's like, yeah, it's not real. And like half of them take steroids
Those are
and
plastic
stuff, you know,
people.
like it's, yeah.
Yeah, and like the people who are genuine about anything, I find that, you know, before sitting meditation, it was, kind of walking meditation. 'Cause
Yeah.
monks would walk to different temples to learn the skills of like, you know, everyone else. So I look at all exercise, whatever you do, yoga is probably the easiest way to get to that meditative state. But you can run, you can work out, you can, you know,
It's just a deep state of like
dance.
focus, essentially.
Yeah.
It's repetitive focus, so it's meditation in itself. Obviously, it's not going to beat stillness because that's your brain completely working on it. But it's a way of like not doing 100%. It'd be like doing 60%, 40%, something like that. So it's like it's always gaining that meditative state. And like we said before about habits, if you do it consistently enough, you're gonna get the same results, but in a much longer time compared to not doing it at all.
Yeah. Well, you only do it if you feel you need to, you know? Like Alan Watts said, it's just like, if you keep doing it, it's just like walking through a revolving door consistently. And then he said, like, the bad people are the people that try and get in through on someone else's push.
Okay. That's interesting because...
But he said it should be taken as a medicine, not as routine. Like
exercise.
No, meditation.
Wait,
It
who
should be
said that?
meditation. Meditation should be just like taken as medicine,
Okay.
as like a cure to something.
Medicine, meditation, med.
And Alan Watts said it.
Man, Alan Watts is our man. Alan Watts is
I love
everyone's
him.
man.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, I always find that I get bored of working out, or I get bored of a sport or something, because like maybe that's my mental cap. Just being like, all right, I've learned enough. I need to move on to a new activity or something. So that'd just be desire, which isn't enlightenment, which is interesting.
Well, it kind of is, because like Alan Watts said this too. Like when Buddha said like don't desire, like that was like the starting to his like conversation. That was an opening line, not the end, you know? Like once you tried not to desire, that's like trying to bite your own teeth, you know? Don't think of a pink elephant, you know? That's like trying not to desire. Then you realize like you kind of need to desire something, so like it's...
And then with desire, you also need to hate something as well.
Yeah,
So
so
it-
it can't live without its opposite.
Yeah, exactly. Which is interesting because that makes me think we are all natural born addicts because we crave dopamine, we crave epinephrine, we crave
Yeah.
serotonin.
Everyone craves their own stuff. We call addicts by different names, you know? Like someone that jumps out of a plane consistently to try and get dopamine in their brain and adrenaline, that's just a thrill seeker or an adrenaline junkie, you know? It's not an actual addict, you know?
Fucking junkies. How about everyone gets their shit together? Everyone in existence, huh? How about you get straight? Everyone.
That's interesting. I had this conversation with a dude the other day, and it was once the first time you clap, it's just one long wait until you clap again. You're always clapping. So once you start clapping, you never stop. It's just one
But
long
eventually...
pause. You have to clap again, yeah.
No, but eventually you'll have your last clap, but you won't know it.
That's like, if you want to get real sad. The last time you hang out with
like
your friends. in
any
school.
clap
What if you
could be
plan it,
like the
dude?
last clap.
What if
know?
you like try and time it just right? Like you're just about to fade into death. You're on your deathbed. Your family's around you, and you're just like, last breath. You clap your last breath.
On
On your deathbed.
There was this episode of South Park that did that, and it was like the whole episode was about when you die, you fart.
Oh yeah,
If you remember that episode. But anyway, yeah. So like, if you ever do a drug, you're always just gonna be waiting to have your next drug hit. So like, this is why heroin and meth terrify me, because these drugs raise your dopamine level up to 5,000%. You know, the most stimulus a human can get without plant chemical-based substances is from sex, and sex it raises your dopamine levels, I think, 250 at a max 400%. So it's like, it just terrifies me to even like attempt to do anything like any hard drugs like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Please don't.
once you take that step, when you're sober, you're never going to be the same sober again.
Yeah,
You
you'll
know?
always be thinking about what happened because it's impossible not to, you know? Like,
Intent, yeah.
Yeah.
It is you, that experience. Like you've become that.
and some people get that way with alcohol, you know? Like, they just have good experiences with alcohol and eventually just become alcoholics, you know?
Yeah. And the society we live in is so conducive to it. You know?
Yeah,
It's like,
especially here in Australia.
In Australia, it's just like, yeah, let's go to the pub, let's have a drink.
Yeah.
You know, let's have a meeting over this. Let's, you know, share
It's
a
so
glass of
glorified
wine
too.
at lunch.
Yeah,
Like I'm all for the meme of sinking some tins with the boys,
yeah,
but you know, like, at the same time, like there's an actual, like because that's all joking. Like I sink tins with the boys. That's like sort of a joke.
But
But
it's,
then
like,
there's the
serious here, yeah.
there's a serious version, not just here, but like there's a,
yeah.
in like just the psyche of humans where, you know, like grab a beer and like I don't know, it's just like good. now that everyone's drinking beers all of a sudden, like somehow that's a good thing. Like it makes sense. Like it's good times about to start, but it's
Yeah.
glorified way too much.
Yeah. Especially in, most Western cultures.
Yeah,
Not just like here.
fucking Westerners.
Yeah, like,
Westerners, man, what are you doing?
if you ever have a cigarette, you're always going to crave cigarettes. You're just going to learn to forget it, which is being more present every day, essentially. Because any addiction you have can always be eradicated just by actively noticing the symptoms, because we're
Or just
controlled by
staying
our
present in the
emotional
moment.
response.
In a sense, you know?
Yeah, it makes sense because like when you're addicted to something, it means you're constantly thinking back to it,
Yeah.
which means you're not being present.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, if you're just sitting in the moment, not thinking about the future or the past, which don't exist because technically only this exists, things in the future will exist.
Yeah.
Things in the past have existed, but this exists. Just think about existence and that won't happen, you know?
Exactly. Like this whole conversation tonight can literally be summed up by just being present.
Yeah.
To
literally.
win at anything.
Just being in the moment.
Yeah. To win at anything related to empathy, you just have to be present. You know, you have to be a good listener, and to be a good listener, you can't be thinking about the next conversation or the previous conversation.
That's
you
sort
just
of
have to
what I
run-
meant by, like, I'm zen about it. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
in a sense. Like, I don't actively think about empathy. I just do it. Like, I just do whatever comes
Yeah,
naturally.
You're just
do it at
amping, dude.
whatever level you've learnt to do it at.
Just
Yeah.
amping all over the place. Check out how hard I'm amping right now. Can you feel it? Can you feel me amping?
Emp gaping.
I'm gaping my empathy hole.
Gape
Yeah.
my emp.
But yeah, like with all empathy, it really comes down to, you know, just how good of a person you are already.
Yeah.
Because
In a sense.
you're being selfish when you're learning empathy, because you're actively trying to be nice to someone so they like
Instead
you.
of just naturally just being nice.
Yeah, so you know,
Yeah.
if you were just a nice person from birth, you're just gonna lead your way up the good life. And you know, I heard an interesting story the other day that all parents are bad parents because they haven't taught their kids to feel emotion properly.
Yeah.
You know, don't do that. Get out of the kitchen. You know, fucking whatever. My parents used to say, "Fuck off, go play in the streets."
I'm glad my parents didn't do that.
Yeah, I think we all have some fucking like just bad thing our parents did, but
Yeah.
you know, it's just
It
what
is
happened to us.
impossible to be entirely good.
Yeah.
There's no... Good job if you pull it off. Holy crap.
No, you can't. Like,
Yeah,
well, it's going to be bad from someone's perspective.
Yeah.
There can't be good without bad
Yeah.
either. Like, things can't exist without
No.
their
It's
opposites.
always
good
gonna
job
lead
if you
to
can pull it off.
chaos.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's always going to lead to chaos, because once you breed corruption, it's literally in someone's DNA, so they're destined to be more criminal. So it's like breeding pugs, though. If you got all the nice people in the world together and just said, you will all fuck now, and they just all
these
started
inbred, like,
massively
yeah.
reproducing
You
at
just
like
make this exponential growth of good.
of good.
fucking!
Or just like they'll eventually become these deformed cunts.
Exactly.
And everyone will think they're pompous and will kill them all.